Cowboy mounted shooting is a lot like barrel racing, only with guns. We ride a course where we set up a pattern with 10 different balloons, 5 of one color, 5 of another color. Each rider comes into the ring, usually dressed Old West cowboy style, and they have 2 single-action 6-gun revolvers. Each is loaded with 5 blanks. They take their first gun, shoot the first part of the course, the first 5 balloons with the 5 blanks, holster that, and then shoot the second part of the course with their second gun. Each rider is judged on time. It's a speed event. The fastest time wins, and every missed balloon counts as a 5-second penalty against that time. There's a couple of different national organizations that handle cowboy mounted shooting. The largest is CMSA, which stands for Cowboy Mounted Shooting Association. There's also SAS, which is the Single Action Shooting Society, and then there's a smaller group called MSA, Mounted Shooters of America. Our club's affiliated with both CMSA and SAS. They both run events and provide a set of rules, guidelines, and different courses that we can run in a given event. Locally on Long Island, we have just one cowboy mounted shooting club, and that's the Island Long Riders. I started the Island Long Riders in late 2009 simply because there was really nothing else in the area to handle mounted shooting. Prior to that, we had several clubs in New England. I've been riding up there for a couple of years. I kind of learned the ins and outs of club management and how to handle the different events from them. And then, as I say, in 2009, I brought the event down to Long Island, and there was a tremendous amount of interest from the local riders. Nobody had ever seen or heard of anything like this before. So there was a lot of excitement, and now we're in our second full season of running. Now it's 2011. We've had several events already this year and have several more planned.
I started doing the cowboy mounted shooting. This is my 4th season now, and my husband started 5 years ago. And for the whole first season, I watched him ride and I watched him shoot, and I felt that it was something that I was not able to do as a woman. I was intimidated by the sport. And after watching him ride and seeing that I would say 50% of the riders are women, I thought, well, this is something that I might be able to do also. So I attended a clinic, and I loved it, and I've been shooting ever since. I've been getting faster and faster and growing as a team with my horse, and really just love the sport. It's a great time. It's something that both men and women share equally. The women many times are faster than the men, or as fast. It's just something that's great for anyone to get involved with. And as a family, now my daughter also rides. She's been doing this for 3 years also. And we just have a great time getting out there. We all get dressed and get our horses ready and just spend the day shooting and riding horses.
Training is a very important part of cowboy mounted shooting. As a club, we offer several options for our members and for new riders. Typically at the beginning of the season, we'll run several clinics. Clinic involves training and desensitizing for the horse. There's a lot of different aspects that horses need to get used to that they're not normally exposed to in everyday life. We have the noise, of course, from the guns. We also have the balloons popping, which here 1 second gone the next can be very frightening for a horse that hasn't seen anything like this. Some horses take to it very quickly. Some horses take a little more time to get used to it. We pretty much segment our training into very individualized sessions. A typical clinic will involve bringing new riders in, pairing them up with experienced horses, and then riding in a ring and slowly introducing the horses from a low sound, which we call a primer-only round, which is about the sound of a cap gun, on up to a full load that we use in competition, which can get pretty loud. By gradually introducing the horses to the sound and by using the herd mentality of horses, by having experienced horses for them to look to and learn that there's nothing to be afraid of, we can introduce the horses pretty quickly to this. After the training session, we encourage our riders to get involved in matches and clinics. The matches we run are very beginner-friendly, especially for the new people. And then we have various practice sessions where we can work on individualized training for the horses and the riders.
Being involved with the Island Long Riders with my husband Joe has been a real work of love, I have to say. We started this club and have just watched it grow, and it really motivates us to try and get new members involved, and we're always looking to recruit new people. My goal this year was to incorporate practices into our schedule. This is something we've never done before. So we have sometimes once a month or twice a month we'll hold a practice for our members so that everyone gets a chance to improve, and when they get to the matches they can compete with the other riders from out of state who tend to practice more than we do. So we want to be competitive, so that's something that I've been working on, is having these practices for all of our members.
We have riders of all levels of ability that participate in this sport. We have some beginner riders, we have some very advanced riders, and just about everything in between. A lot of it really depends on the horse's ability. You can put a newer rider on a very calm, experienced horse, and they can learn this game together. A lot of horses take a lot more training and a lot more confidence and ability in the rider, and they, of course, obviously need a much more experienced rider. So the level of ability really varies, and as a club president and an evaluator at training and clinic sessions, I really have to look on it on a case-by-case basis. But this is a very beginner-friendly sport, and with the training we offer, there's certainly no rush to get to the professional higher-end levels of the sport. A lot of people come into this sport as beginner or intermediate beginner riders with horses that they need a little work and a little training, and just take it at their own slower pace. And some riders will stay at that level and pace for several years until they feel confident to move on. And some either don't feel confident to move on, that's okay, and some are just happy at the slower level because it's just a lot of fun. There are competitive aspects of this sport, and certainly for the hardcore competitor, there's a lot of opportunity to advance and win and get ribbons and different awards. For the less competitive rider, there's a lot of opportunity to play dress up, play cowboy, and just get out there and have an awful lot of fun with your horse.
If you were to talk to most people, you'd find that most would agree that the riders that do the best are the ones who are riding the best horse that's at that match. It's all about your horse. I've gone out there with my horse and I've had an amazing day, and I feel like I can't do anything wrong. And I've had days where I come out of that ring because my horse was just not in the mood to do it then, that we can't do anything right. So really, I would say it's 90% about the horse and 10% about the rider. It may be hard to believe that right now we're standing on the north shore of Long Island. We're on a 6-acre piece of property nestled in West Hills Park. Right here alone we have 10 horses that live here, and we have miles and miles of trails that we can go on. The only difference, I would say, with the majority of horses on Long Island and the horses that are involved in our club is that I would say that most horses are English, and when we talk to the riders who ride English, they think we're a little crazy. Most of them would not ever consider riding their horse and shooting a gun off of his back because he probably would not take to it too well. There's a big difference between the Western horse and the English horse. They tend to stay in a ring and just jump over things, and we like to run around a ring and shoot guns. Before cowboy mounted shooting, I had never handled a pistol in my life. Never thought that I would. And the first time I went to a clinic, it was an excellent approach to gun safety and the handling of the pistols. So by the end of the clinic, I felt completely comfortable loading, unloading my own pistols, and felt safe around my horse and around the other riders that were at the event. And since then, I've also done some ground shooting, which uses live ammo. And I think it's just been a great introduction to pistols for someone like myself who, like I said, my entire life had never even held one in my hand. And now I own my own. So.
Cowboy mounted shooting is really a family sport. It attracts all types, all ages, both men and women. I'd say in most of the matches I've been to, it's probably 50% men, 50% women. A lot of people I've spoken to, especially newer riders, tend to assume it's a men-only sport because it's the cowboy theme. But we are open to all types, and again, about 50% of the riders that I've come across are women, and they do very, very well at this sport. In fact, the current world champion for CMSA is a woman, and she kicks butt on all the men. So it's open to all types. Young kids are welcome to participate as well. Under 12 years old, we have them in what's called a Wrangler class, so they do not actually handle any firearms, but they do go through the course, usually with a cap gun or pointing their finger at a balloon, and learn how to do it. And then once they hit 12, they're eligible to participate in the adult classes. We don't see that much in the East Coast, simply because the culture, people are not exposed to horses at a much earlier age. But out west, there are several people who have spent most of their life in the saddle, usually since they're 3 or 4 years old, and they excel at this sport. When they hit 12 or 13, they're ready to play with the big boys.
I started cowboy mounted shooting when I was 14. I'm now 15, and it feels great to be new at the sport because all the experienced riders help you out and give you tips. I started riding when I was 13. Mary taught me, and a year later, she started to bring me to shoots, and I fell into it, and I love it. I haven't seen a lot of young riders. The youngest I've seen is probably 18, so I'd say I'm one of the youngest.
There are several clothing requirements in this sport. Mainly, we try to emulate a late 1800s Western feel. There are different rules in the various organizations. The minimum dress requirement you'll find is 5-pocket jeans covered by chaps or chanks, a long-sleeve Western-style shirt, and a hat. For ladies, there are additional options which involve dresses, again in an 1800s look, along the lines of the Victorian era. Most riders in this sport opt for a little more in the way of dress, similar to how I'm dressed now, with the bandana, with the vest, badges, different kinds of accoutrements to kind of round out the look and the feel. But it follows all along the lines of Western wear, typically from the late 1800s.
For women, the clothing that we get to wear, we have a lot more diversity than the men do, because we can dress as a traditional cowgirl in jeans, chaps, a long sleeve button down shirt, and a cowgirl hat. Or we can dress as I'm dressed today, which is an 1800s cowgirl, which is a lot of fun. A lot of the women do dress this way, and it is also great in the heat of the summer because we can get away with no sleeves, and we don't even have to wear a hat as long as we're wearing a skirt or a dress. So that makes playing this game a lot of fun. The clothes are really fun.
The Island Long Riders host several events on Long Island throughout the year. We have clinics usually towards the beginning of the year, several practices during the year, and our main events are actual competitive matches that we hold. This year we have 6 local matches on the schedule. We're always in the process of planning more, depending on the different locations and available times we can find. A typical match starts the day about 10:30 or 11 o'clock. The riders start to arrive, we get all set up. The club staff goes out there to set up the courses and start doing all the paperwork for the day. We have a loading, unloading table, and that's where all the firearms are placed. We have several people in our club who are certified NRA instructors, and we put them in charge of gun safety. The way we like to do it is have all the guns on the table, and we hand them to the riders as they go in the ring, and then take them from the riders as they leave the ring. This minimizes any safety issues that might arise during the day and eliminates the possibility of any accidents. Typical match consists of about 4 stages. A stage is a different pattern that we run. CMSA has 64 patterns to choose from. SAS has 99 patterns to choose from. And from that, under SAS rules, we're even allowed to alter their patterns or create our own. So there are a lot of variations and different options that we can have in running courses. Typically at the start of the day for a match, we'll randomly select 4 courses. This way nobody has any pre-knowledge of what we're going to be doing that day and can't practice or have an unfair advantage. Everyone's on the same playing field. We'll decide on a go order, which is the order the riders will go in. The first rider will enter the ring, they'll run their course, get their time, and so on to the last rider. After everybody's run the first stage, we'll reset the course to a different pattern, and then the riders will run that again. At the end of the day, the rider with the best score wins. One interesting thing about this sport is that it is, as I've mentioned before, very beginner friendly. We not only have an overall winner for the day and an overall reserve winner, but we also have different winners in different classes. When a rider first starts riding cowboy mounted shooting, they're a level 1 rider. They're with all the other beginners. As they win against other people of their same level, level 1, they will automatically advance to level 2. As they win against other level 2s, they'll advance to level 3, and so on. Right now, the highest level of cowboy mounted shooting is level 6, which is for the very top riders, and it's a very hard level to attain. So riders who are new to this sport don't have to feel outclassed by people who've been doing this for years and are on horses that are very well trained to the sport. They get to compete against other people of the same level of ability and get to feel the bragging rights or the pride of winning against other people in their same level. One of the most important parts of a match is at the beginning we have a required safety meeting. This is not only required in the rules, but it's also required by our club for any events we run. Here we go over the rules, the requirements, and cover several important safety issues that every rider needs to know. There's going to be a lot of safety rules revolving around that as to when you can have a gun out, when you can't. There are places you're going to have to trot. Again, we'll get all into detail on that. Remember, please, people, all day today, safety is the #1 goal. That is the most important thing. We not only address things in the normal rule book, but we also address any specific local conditions that may exist, like a certain thing in the field that we're running in, or a certain fence post, or different variation that may exist for this particular day. It's very important, and it's required for every rider who's participating to participate and be a part of that safety meeting. This is also where we cover any questions riders might have and any concerns they might have about the particular day.
Since cowboy mounted shooting is a timed event and our goal is to be in the ring as short amount of time as possible, we do tend to not ride for very much time at a match. If we have a good day, we might be spending 20 seconds each run and maybe have 4 or 5 of those. So in all the time put together, you're maybe riding for a minute and a half, and a match can last 4 or 5 hours. So the thing that makes this such a great sport is the people that we spend the day with. The camaraderie, the sharing of stories, and our helpful hints to one another really make it the great sport that it is. It's a great group of people to spend the day with. Right before we step into the ring with our horse, our hearts are pounding, our mouth is dry, the nerves are just getting the best of us. We go into that ring and you forget everything. You don't see the people watching. It's just about you, your horse, and the balloons. And when you're finished, you come out of that ring and the adrenaline rush is just incredible. I know for myself, I come out, my hands are shaking, and it takes me a couple of minutes to come down from that rush, but there's nothing like it. It's just too much fun for words. On most of the CMSA and SAS courses, each one will end with what we call the rundown, which is 5 balloons in a straight line, usually about 30 feet apart. So since we start out with the first part of the course with the white balloons in our first pistol, that tends to be the more difficult part of the course to manage. And you can't really go through it as quickly because it involves more turning and maneuvering through gates and whatnot. But then once you turn that rundown barrel and you're holding your second pistol in your hand, and now all you need to do is keep that horse in a straight line, and you can just shoot as fast as you can and let that horse run as fast as he can. There's nothing like it, and it's almost like a relief to get to that point that you say, okay, this is the easy part, let's go, let's get it done. It may be hard to believe that right now we're standing on the North Shore of Long Island. We're on a 6-acre piece of property nestled in West Hills Park. Right here alone we have 10 horses that live here, and we have miles and miles of trails that we can go on. The only difference, I would say, with the majority of horses on Long Island and the horses that are involved in our club is that I would say that most horses are English. And when we talk to the riders who ride English, they think we're a little crazy. Most of them would not ever consider riding their horse and shooting a gun off of his back because he probably would not take to it too well. There's a big difference between the Western horse and the English horse. They tend to stay in a ring and just jump over things, and we like to run around a ring and shoot guns. Getting yourself and your horse to a cowboy mounted shooting match is not easy. It takes a lot of effort. We've got to pack up saddles, bridles, bits, hay bags, trailers, and whatnot, and get ourselves dressed and ready to go for the day. But it is all worth it. It is the most fun experience I ever have with my horse. It's my favorite thing to do with my horse, and I wouldn't trade it for anything in the world. I absolutely love it. It's so worth the effort.
Many of us have grown up watching John Wayne movies, Jimmy Stewart movies, Gary Cooper movies, and sat glued to the screen enamored by the Old West. Whether it's John Wayne or Lonesome Dove or even today's Silverado, the West holds an allure for people and a fascination. It's part of America's history. It's part of America's background, and it's something that resonates in all of us. One of the real fun things about this sport is we get to play John Wayne and Jimmy Stewart. We get to dress up like the guys in the old westerns. We get to not only do that, but we get to ride on our horses off into the sunset, shooting the gun saying yippee-ki-yay. There's really no feeling like that that I have found. And I know that holds true for a lot of other people who play this game.